Well, it has been a pleasure. And I would be remiss if I called this my quote-unquote last sermon or last word or whatever. It's not a final word. It's not a final sermon. It's just today. And I appreciate your graciousness and kindness shown to me through your staff, through yourselves. And it's been a gift for me. I've shared this with some of you. I retired a couple years ago, and the gift, the biggest gift that you all have given me in this month has been to reaffirm my retirement decision. So thanks. I appreciate it. It's great, and it really truly is. And it reminds me. So Sunday morning, here's one of the things. My grandson's 3. And my daughter and her husband and my grandson go to the same church we attend. And so every week I'm assured that I get to see him. Yeah, it hadn't happened so much in a month. So it's been challenging. And you all remind me of why I made certain decisions. So thank you very much. We are in John this week, 15. Remember that John is, and in these, chapter 15, 16, 14, there's these long speeches by Jesus. And he is preparing his disciples for what's to come. And we use these texts during Lent, or I have, because Lent is that time when you become serious about the sacrifice of Jesus. You become serious about the fact that the season goes all the way to Good Friday before you have Holy Saturday and then Easter Sunday. And so your little card that you have, and I really do encourage you, as Tim did, to take it with you, take it home, and share it with somebody else. But that rhythm of Palm Sunday, the Hosannas, and then on Thursday, Maundy Thursday, Jesus draws his close group together and his friends and those disciples and shares a meal with them and shares about what's happening and what's going to happen. And then Friday, you're going to have a Good Friday service. That's such a critical moment because it's one of the few ways we can appreciate Easter. And then in the churches that I've served over the years, I've done a Holy Saturday. And we simply would come and we would have silent prayer in the sanctuary. And we'd facilitate it, but we'd facilitate it without talking to each other. And it was important because it felt a little desolate. And I bet Saturday felt desolate to the disciples and all the followers. And then the celebration of Easter. So I hope you can experience that down, almost like you go down into the grave to be able to come out to resurrection. So pay attention to those things. John 15 starts in verse 9. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit. Fruit that will last. Actually, it's interesting. Almost everywhere else, the word remain is translated as abide. in this particular point, the fruit that will last will abide, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. I am giving you these commands so that you love one another. And then Jesus goes on and talks about what the cost of love is. But he begins there. Most sermons that I've heard on being chosen all begin with the same thing. They start with the trauma of childhood choosing up of teams. You know it. You know, you sit there and you wait for your name to be called. Well, I'll pick Tim and I'll pick, Gretchen and I'll pick Shannon. You pick all these other people. You're over there going, me, or not, and trying not to be noticed and trying not to pay attention. But it's really interesting to me that that's where most of the sermons I know begin. Either with the choosing of teams in childhood trauma or the choosing of teams in adulthood trauma. Same problem. And I think it's just to try to get into the idea of being chosen. What does it mean? We're just going to take a look at it this morning. This could either be the shortest or longest sermon in the world. I don't know. We'll find out. But it's not necessarily relatable to the idea of being chosen in childhood or for a team. It's, I'm guilty. As a preacher, I've used it. But I think that it is quite a bit different. Israel was chosen. Israel's been chosen as God's people. Even in this political time, and the nation of Israel is Zionism, it has nothing to do with the religious group called Israel. Israel as a nation state. Israel as the people of God is a whole other ballgame. And yet, I will tell you this, Israel as a nation, modern nation state, still needs to have some respect as the people of God, as should all places and all people. It's a precarious calling, isn't it? You think of Israel, and you think of their calling, and their being chosen, and it's kind of like, well, did you consider those people next door? Because it hasn't worked out so great for us. Not through history. It's been a precarious calling. It's interesting. It's special. And you have a creator with you have a relationship with the creator of the world. That's what Israel's drawn into. They're drawn into a relationship that you're going to be set apart to be a special people to me, God says, the one who made you and loves you. They're called out. They're claimed. They're looked after. There's a promise that God won't ever forsake them or leave them. They're established. And yet Israel tends historically to be a group of vagabonds, and they're targeted. It's been true throughout history. The people of God have been targeted. God, you chose us, but don't do us any favors like advertising and letting everybody else know that we're the darlings of God, which is how a lot of people interpreted it. Israel was intended to be an expression of God's love to the world. It's not quite how it turned out. People around them are jealous. People around them are angry. People around them see them as a group to eliminate. Even today, it seems that that's still current, that in this war that we're engaged in as a country, that Israel still plays an oversized role in this, both as aggressor and as quote-unquote victim. It's a strange chosenness, you might say. You think about it, you think about anti-Semitism, but not everything that is about Israel is anti-Semitic. You have to be able to distinguish between those things. And I hope you can. Jesus, a child of Israel, is chosen as the Son of God, the child of God. Jesus is God's chosen one. There's that great moment in Harry Potter where Hermione is looking at Harry and just says, "Oh, they say you're the chosen one." And Harry goes, "Oh, I am the chosen one." And she hits him, and it kind of ends that moment. But it actually, that idea that Jesus will take on this character, this mantle of being the chosen one of God. What does it mean? Well, our text tells us it means to be in the counsel of God, to be in God's confidence. It's to be in the Father's counsel, to know the love of God in the most extreme way, to know that the love that God has for his Son is boundless. To be chosen in this is just this remarkable moment, this remarkable statement that Jesus, as we sang earlier, knows exactly who he is, whose he is. Jesus is not alone in his work or in his life. Jesus' job, so to speak, his chosenness is to abide in God's love and to bear fruit. Abiding fruit, lasting fruit. It's not his job just to be nice. It's his job to love the world to the nth degree. That Jesus, to be chosen to be God's child, is to demonstrate and accomplish eternal life through his death. And the abiding fruit is to extend this unique calling, this unique relationship to all human beings, to you and to me. That Jesus' purpose is that you and I would be called children of God, that we would be sons and daughters of the Most High God. That we would be brothers and sisters of Jesus and of one another. We end up being the fruit. We end up being God's emissaries. That's what we're called to be. To be God's emissaries to the world, that they might know God's boundless love for them. That like Jesus, the creator of the world will not leave them or forsake them. In fact, he'll send his very Spirit, it says at the end of John 15, to dwell among those who are called and chosen. But the next few verses are not particularly helpful. We didn't read them. I really don't intend to preach on them, but I do want to comment on it briefly. In verse 18, it says, if the world hates you, this is right after, this is my command that you love each other. And then he does this. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. Where did that come from? If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. Remember that I told you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you. If they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours also. They will treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who has sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty of sin. But now they have no excuse. They've heard, whoever hates me hates my Father as well. If I had not done among them the works no one else did, they would not be guilty of sin. As it is, they have seen, and yet they have hated both me and my Father. But this is to fulfill what is written in their law. They hated me without reason. Two things. Number one, Jesus says, I did all this good among them, and they hated me for it. I did all these things of extending my Father's love to them, and they rejected it, and they rejected me. And they'll do the same to you if you call on my name. If you are called by my name. If you are my children. If you are my brothers and sisters. If you are God's chosen ones, then this is your future. And it's like, well, Jesus, could you have just left that off? It's such an easy sell without it. The chosen will be hated. That's a whole other sermon. But I think about it and think about what it means to be chosen, and it's not the easiest road, is it? It wasn't the simplest road for Jesus. It wasn't easy. It wasn't skating through it, and he calls you and me on the same road, and it's not easy, and it's not skating through it. It's not peak to peak. I actually grew up with, in and around some of the Schuler family. They lived a few blocks from my church. And I went to seminary with Robert Schuler Jr. I just remember one of his sermons for a preaching class, we took it together, was peak to peak. That was, he always had to have some positive turn about it, right? Possibility thinking. And so it was just like, the Christian life was just one big moment after another, peak to peak. But he wouldn't talk about the valleys in between. It is so much easier if you don't talk about the valleys and you just talk about the peaks. So the question really is this: how do we do it? How do we do the calling? I mean, how do we live out our chosenness? You don't try to be obnoxious. I mean, I know a lot of Christians that work really hard to be persecuted by those outside the church to validate their faith. Don't do that. It's just dumb. Pure and simple. And if you want to talk about that, be happy to engage you. But it's not smart. You don't irritate people and have them irritated with you to validate the fact that, well, you know, I'm a Christian, that's why they don't like me. No, you're obnoxious. You know, let's face it. Yeah, we don't want to be those people. But how then do we live out our chosenness? So I have over the last few weeks, I won't do it this week, but we're not having the Tuesday Bible study online. But since I'm not taking anybody through the Gospel of John the next week. But I meet with this Bible study. Many of them don't live right here anymore, but they've been part of your church over time. Some of you are here. So I asked the question of them, if anybody had been on the receiving end of being chosen, and what that means, what that looks like, or that extraordinary sense of chosenness. Has it been lived out for them, in them, around them? And it was moving, what they shared. They didn't talk about themselves. It was really fascinating. The very first person that spoke up said, well, this person over there. And it's online, so we all have, it's a little bit like, we're all in the boxes on the screen. So that box over there in that corner. And the person said, well, so-and-so has been taking care of their spouse for the last 15 years, the last 20 years. And they started to talk about, there were several people that had experience of their spouse having dementia or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or different stages of different things, and they all talked about their marriage vows. They all said, well, I made a promise. Not everybody gets to keep their promise. I get it. I don't want anybody here walking out saying that Craig said, nobody should ever get divorced. It's like, well, sometimes it's the right thing to do. I must admit. Sometimes there are circumstances that just say it has to happen. But in this circumstance, with these people at this moment, they talked about, I made a promise, and I just do it. I took a vow, and as it got worse, I cared. I loved, even without maybe loving the circumstance. I loved my husband, my wife. Taking vows, making promises, being present, even when it is hard. That's what Jesus did. Unto death. In many ways, I think it's the same thing with Jesus and being chosen. At least Jesus gives us a choice back. We get to choose as well. Jesus doesn't just choose us. We're not just chosen to be God's people, but if we say yes to it, if we say and choose him back, then in a sense, in some way, we make a promise. As Jesus makes a promise to us. Jesus says this, I will never leave you nor forsake you. You'll never be left alone or left out. Never. Ever. And though we can't make that promise back to Jesus with that kind of assurance and assurity, we get this moment where we get to say, and I'll be with you. And I'll be for you. It's the promise we make to him. And when we make that promise to him, he says, and remember, love one another, because that's what I've done for you. Pray with me. It's not always easy to love each other. let alone strangers and people we consider in the world. But we ask you'd be with us as we try. In Jesus' name. Let's stand and sing together.